25 years.
There's no other animal in our life that's like a legislative branch, like Congress.
Thank you.
Because
let's redo it. Let's reform it. Anybody in here want to vote for what we've got right now?
no. Well, you know, our forefathers set up 3 branches of government. And we've had the Congress, we've had the chief executive. You know, if you could let me answer, maybe you'd hear the response. You're hearing your question, but you're not hearing my response. The reason it's been 25 years, Congress didn't reform Social Security until 1983 under President Reagan because it built up enough. We need to do it right now to extend Social Security because we need to, in 1935, you want to wait until I call on you? In 1935, there was no time frame for Social Security. The average age for people passing away in 1935 was 65. And so you got benefits at 65. Obviously, we're living healthier. My dad passed away at 91 years old. And so, you know, my mom died at 60, so that's the difference. But so we don't know, but we know we're living longer. And so we're living healthier, we hope. So that's why we need to probably reform Social Security, extend the retirement age. Not for my age, or maybe even somebody in their 40s, but maybe somebody in their 20s now saying you have to wait till you're 68 or 69. My dad didn't actually retire till he was 70. So, but let me get one more and I'll get other folks.
And this is going to be a smart up question, but in the bill, it says if you're over 65, mandatory counseling. Now I understand that's a good thing to have, ladies. If you happen to want them to correct it, but why is it anybody's business that whether or not, to give me a mandatory counseling?
Okay, it's not mandatory.
I read it.
I've got the language here, and there was only one amendment put in the bill.
Let's go ahead and read it.
This is the bill that, well, it's about 4 pages, and it put us all to sleep.
It's your bill, read it.
Well,
Let's see how.
let me say, would you be quiet? Let me answer the lady's question. It doesn't say mandatory. If you can show it to me where it says mandatory, it doesn't. It's permissive. And I think all that is reflective.
Every 5 years you will have to go again.
No, it's no have to. What it's in there for the first time, and again, having a dad who passed away at 91 and my wife's mom, and that what this does is it's a permissive provision that the family or the Medicare recipient can ask for this information. And what it means is that the doctor or the physician's assistant or whoever it is can actually then be reimbursed by Medicare for the time they spend talking about some of the things that we deal with in our own families. Well, frankly, you don't have to. You don't have to. There's nothing in here that says mandatory, and if you see it in there, we will take it out because I read it a number of times. It's not in here. I read it. Anybody who wants to come up and read it and tell me if they find mandatory in here? What page? Page 16. Page 16 has protecting your current coverage. That's to deal with current coverage of health care. So I don't know where that came from. But the actual number that you're talking about, I have the bill 3200 is introduced. This is what we worked off of for amendments. This is actually 1100 about 20 pages. But it's actually 424 because I underlined it in the bill. There's nothing mandatory in here. It's permissive with the patient. And I'll tell you why I support it. My mother-in-law was diagnosed in 1995 with Alzheimer's. And my dad passed away in 2006. He was 91. 91 great years. The last 6 months, he had a lot of problems. He wasn't living in Houston, which I wish he had been. He was living in northern Pennsylvania, and my stepmother had been married 20 years. The last 6 months, I was up there as much as I could go see him. Because I knew, I wish I could say we live forever, but you don't. I just hope I inherited his 91-year-old genes. And we went over it, and working with my stepmother and my brother, who's also here. And we didn't make the decision. In fact, the Lord made the decision for us because the doctor said my dad needed a stomach tube to continue to be alive. I was against it because I read the research, and typically feeding through someone's stomach, particularly that age, you don't extend the life.
But that's your decision.
But it was mine, my brother, and my stepmother. So, and that's the way it should be. The bill doesn't say anything at all about that. It is not the decision of the federal government. And I wouldn't vote for it anyway. But let me tell you, he passed away the next day. But, whereas my mother-in-law, who knew she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, lived until 2006, she signed on her own volition a DNR. And that's all this bill does, is to have somebody, if somebody doesn't understand, they can get their doctor to explain to them what a do not resuscitate, that's their decision.
They're going to talk to you, though. They don't say, I can come and talk to you if I want to. It's if you haven't talked to them in 5 years, you got to.
The 5 years is that they can't get reimbursed if they do it more often than they. But it's permissive, and that's the point of it. In fact, but there's nothing in here. Believe me, I believe, and my wife knows. She and I disagree on life support for her family. I'm sorry.
Why is the language even there?
The reason it's there is because all around the country, people know that if you're dealing with the end of life, and whether it's my life or my family's, then somewhere along the way we need to make some decisions that we need to make them before we get to where my dad was at 91 years old. But it's permissive. It's just recognizing what's happening today. And I tell people, if you don't call me about it, you need to talk with your other brothers and sisters and your priest or your minister. Well, then that's all you need to. They don't need to ask you. It's that you're requesting it. They don't get paid unless you request the counseling. Let me get yes, ma'am. You've been ahead of hand.
I have a comment to make, and I know we're all very passionate, and that's why we're here. But I've known you since I've been in the neighborhood in 1960, and I've always thought the world of you up until recently. And I don't mean that.
Don't tell her.
I don't mean that as an insult, but I'm very disappointed in what you've turned into be. But loved you dearly all these years, and I don't feel like you're here for the people. You're just here as a puppet of the government. It wasn't true, but I think it is. But I just have a comment. Just common sense. China, Japan, India, and France do not want to give us credit anymore. We have loaned from every foreign country that we can. And they no longer want to give us credit, and they're scared to death about, just let me finish my comment and then you can comment. And then they're scared to death about how we're going to pay this back. This is on money that y'all have already spent, or on a turtle, building a bridge for a turtle.
Yeah,
I wish I had a vote on that. I don't think turtles even
you voted on it, sir.
It's been very sad what you have done to this country in 6 months. We had a bill going through the Congress that we wanted you to open up the Federal Reserve so that the people who are the taxpayers could see what you've done with our Federal Reserve. And you knocked that out of Congress.
Okay, no. Let me answer the first. Let me answer the second one.
Let me just finish.
No. Yeah, I'm going to forget the question.
I'm almost through. Let me finish my comment and then I'll sit down. We cannot afford health care reform. We have no money left. I don't care what you're telling us. We have no money left in our government. You are deliberately breaking